Thank you, and thanks especially for Ellen for making this all possible. Okay, I've only got 5 minutes, so I'm going to be just try and make some very simple points. We talk a lot about circular economy. I want to emphasize this equatorial circle on our planet. So this is the area that I do most of my work in, and when we talk about convergence, we're really talking about, for me, this poorer part of the planet coming online in the next 10 years, and the possibility that some of these new technologies will come online as this part of the planet is coming online. As Kathy mentioned, I spent my whole career with The Economist, and I was the Africa Bureau Chief of The Economist. It was an incredibly formative time. This is one of the pieces that we wrote at that time. Just make a few very simple points, but hope that they stay with you. The first point is the world is changing incredibly fast. This is one of my favorite pictures of recent years. This was a photograph that was taken in 1904, and you can just make out those little white dots behind the tree there. That were the first railway tents of the city of Nairobi, which now has 4 million people. So it's like 1904, that was Nairobi. So imagine another 100 years in the future, Nairobi is going to be at 12, 14 million people. We're going very fast. When I got to Africa, I was really focused on the Kalashnikov, and obviously I did my share of war reporting on the front line. But being in Africa, when the Nokia 1100 phone came along, completely changed my worldview. And in fact, that piece of design is the reason I'm standing on the stage right now. It proved a very basic fact that very poor people can have access to very advanced pieces of technology. And indeed, these are my gunmen who were taking me around Somalia. And when I took this picture, they are all on Facebook. So these are guys who earn $2 a day, and they're hooked into the social networks. Okay, second point is it's not going to be us that's making the changes. This is in northern Kenya, and I like this picture because it represents China and Africa, both quite young, but China massive. As you can see, China has just built a new railway line in Kenya, but staffed entirely by Chinese conductors. I left The Economist. I went to a technology university in Switzerland, which was kind of like the Caltech of Europe, and I was thinking about what should come next. And we founded a cross-disciplinary lab. We had a lot of computer scientists, a lot of roboticists, and we really came up with this idea of flying robots carrying stuff in Africa. It's really hard to move stuff around in Africa. And in particular, blood is really difficult to move around. And so we thought, actually, it would be a good idea to fly blood around from central blood banks to regional clinics. And I'm happy to say that, I'll just skip through that one, that we introduced a Silicon Valley startup into Rwanda in Africa, which is now carrying 1/3 of the blood in the country using these cargo drones. So it's really exciting. And when we talk about the circular economy, one of the elements which I think is really critical, especially when we talk about poorer communities, is equity. So it's no good having very advanced technology if it's a closed loop. What we want to do is try and create an economy which is advanced but also messy at the same time. And I say messy in a positive sense, where local people are sharing value. So we came up with this idea for drone ports. So every town on the planet, on the equatorial part of the planet, should have a drone port by 2030. This is the first one that we're building. I got Norman Foster, the British architect, to come and design it. So we are starting to build that in Rwanda at the end of this year. And the idea is that it has drone operations, a medical clinic, and a digital fabrication plant in the middle of it. I think final point, because amazingly I'm already out of time, audacity of vision. We were told this morning that the old order should be respected. And one of the biggest lessons I learned living in Africa was, curiously, an enormous respect for Victorians. I always had this idea that Victorians were truly awful and terrible, and yes, they were terrible in some ways, but this is the Liverpool-Manchester Railway, which is built at the modern cost of about $1 billion. Extraordinary achievement. But we don't actually have to build the railways now, so I feel like in 10, 15 years' time, a lot of cargo will be going in the sky because our roads, especially in Africa, will be gridlocked. So things are changing very fast. New technology can arrive in poorer places, and we need leaps of the imagination. Thank you.